The subtle breeze blowing over a scenic Idaho prairie rustles a myriad of maize. A seasonal sound so sweet.
I can't imagine raising my kids any other way than what I've done.
A homegrown nod toward the template of self-sustaining. Because the dairy, it's dependent daily, a year-round operation.
When you have a connection to the land or you have a connection to livestock, it's more than a job, it's a life.
One this Idaho farmer's fueled
And
for 3 generations.
there isn't a single job that I ask any of the guys to do that I or my dad or my son wouldn't do in their stead. I've used the same employees, the same family, the core of my group of employees I've had with me for over 20 years.
To protect his employees from any possible repercussions, we chose to keep this conversation anonymous.
I mean, in the 20 plus years that we have used the H-2A program, I have had one American applicant that has come to me for a job. And once they got on the farm, they worked one day and never showed up again.
The H-2A program. Congress created it in 1986 as part of the Immigration Reform and Control Act. It's a seasonal work visa program for unfilled agriculture jobs, naturally posing a perpetual problem.
So with a dairy that's year-round, you need year-round employees. You can't have your guys going home the 15th of November and then not able to come back up until February or March. What do you do in the interim 4 months? It's untenable that way.
With a tenable solution in high demand.
We all recognize the system is broken and we need to fix it.
Idaho Congressman Mike Simpson
Yeah.
spent years pitching answers.
If you're a dairyman or a cattle rancher, those cows need to be milked every day. It's not seasonal. I heard the other night 6,000 openings in the dairy industry, and they had 3 applicants that were Americans for those 6,000 jobs.
Is that in Idaho specifically?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a huge issue.
But drawing little interest in a solution. Out of sight, out of mind. But the Idaho Dairymen's Association has nothing to hide.
Yeah, 90% of our workforce is foreign born, and we're sitting without a visa program, so that's going to tell you a lot about the legal status of our average dairy worker.
Rick Nairbout's the IDA's CEO.
Yeah.
That's just the reality you guys are working through?
Yeah, and have been for 30 years.
Passed in '86, it's been untouched by Congress for decades. No updates, no changes, but not for a lack of trying.
We almost had it done on the omnibus last year, but we just couldn't get it across the finish line, so we're trying again this year.
Simpson calls his legislation the Farm Workforce Modernization Act. The bipartisan bill aims to provide documentation for the undocumented agriculture workers already in the states, to provide year-round visas for future H-2A agriculture workers, and for those who choose to provide a pathway toward citizenship.
So it would be probably, they tell me, 18 years before anybody would become citizens, but 90% of those people that I talk to, citizenship is not the big thing, they just want to work. And they're working in jobs that Americans won't fill.
I imagine there's some people that would disagree with that and say they came here illegally, I don't want them here anymore. Where you're coming at it from a standpoint of, this is an important backbone to our workforce.
Absolutely, and if, you know, some people have said to me, well, let's just deport them all because they came illegally. Maybe you could do that, but if you could, how much are you willing to pay for milk? How much are you willing to pay for any other commodity? I'm talking huge increases in the cost.
But the barriers barring this bill are built at the border. Bad actors, traffickers, cartels, they're all contributing to the connotation of immigration.
And until you can control that border, you're going to have a tough time passing anything that has the word immigration attached to it. And that's unfortunate. That's the political environment that we're in.
Political to the point where the U.S. Senate hasn't even voted on Simpson's bill. The House passed it twice.
Can Idaho's dairy industry exist without undocumented workers?
No. Current state of play, without access to a visa program, we would not be able to milk cows and do the day-to-day business of dairy without the Hispanic workforce that's here today.
The very workforce Idaho's economy depends on every single day. The same workforce the U.S. immigration system refuses to accept.
As far as I understand, every one of my workers is legal to be here. We collect taxes on everybody that works for us. Those taxes are paid to the government. And if there's something wrong with the paperwork, that's on the government side for them to figure it out.
Don't ask, don't tell. It's not a problem unless you make it one.
They like to come to work and they like to go fish. And that's the two things that they do. They don't get in trouble, there's no problem with them. And then they go home, they finally have to have a touchback. And then they can't come back up. And they ask me, hey, can you bring me up through the H-2A? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I cannot.
A skilled worker taken from a local family business for seeing their own family back home.
Politics aside, I'm tired of hearing the rhetoric, you know.
The reality of 30 years, going just where the wind blows.
You talk to the left, and the left says it's the right. You talk to the right says it's the left. There's always a sticking point. That's the biggest problem with politics across the board. There is no common ground. Nobody wants to work together.